Sahana Vavtu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. So we are at chapter 7. We'll be doing verse 4 today, where Krishna Bhagavan starts talking about his nature, higher and lower nature. But just to very quickly summarize the first 3 verses, that he began the chapter by telling Arjuna that I'll give you this knowledge, this Gyan Vigyan, and so you will be able to understand who I am. Know me completely, tattva se mujhe jaan sakoge, without any doubt. And but the condition, you have to listen to me, and you have to be attached to me, and we went through those 3 different things, and kind of be in the state of meditation or keep your mind calm, basically, and totally be dependent on me, madashraya. And then I will reveal you this knowledge as well as the wisdom. And what does wisdom meaning? The experience of the truth. So, and basically having known which, nothing more remains to be known. That's the main thing about this knowledge. And so even though this is a very wonderful knowledge, experience, and the ultimate state, but very few people firstly walk this path. Out of millions and millions of human beings, very few walk in this path, and then rare few gain this enlightenment, the final mystic experience of oneness with this divinity. So, and that person comes to know God, and I mean God and that person is the same. We have gone through it, all the different aspects of it. So, and why it is so rare, because even if somebody walks that path, there are a lot of other factors. You need a proper guidance, proper teacher, and even after that, your own effort, your own shraddha, so many other things are there. That's why. So anyway, after advertising this knowledge, how special it is, and got Arjuna all excited about it, so Bhagwan starts revealing his identity. So these next 2 verses are kind of related to each other, 4 and 5. And together, that 4 and 5 he tells about is his nature. And there are 2 terms that we have to get familiar with over here. It's called para and apara. You must have heard this, para and apara prakriti. So the apara prakriti is what he's going to be talking about in verse 4 right now. And the para prakriti he will talk about in the verse 5. And then what is, just to give a very basic idea, apara prakriti is the matter, and para prakriti is going to be the consciousness. So with that background, I'm going to chant this verse 4. Bhumirapo nalo vayuhu kham mano buddhirev cha ahankara iti yamme bhinna prakriti ashtadha. Bhumi is earth, apaha means water, analaha means fire, vayu is air, kham is ether, means sky, or actually space. That's a good word too. Mana is mind, buddhi, intellect, eva, even, cha is an, ahankara is ego, egoism, iti, thus, iyam, this, me is mind, prakriti is nature, bhinna. And bhinna word has a little more deeper meaning, divided over here is said. We'll see what it means. Ashtada is 8-fold. So what is he saying over here? So Bhagwan is revealing he called this Ashtadha Prakriti, 8-fold Prakriti, 8 different parts of it. And sometimes, it gets further divided also, but this is the main, division. And then sometimes they call it 24, and you will see that how they're, just a little more classification, that's all. But the basic is these 8, and we'll see what these 8 are. So this is made up of the 5 elements, and we have talked about these 5 elements so many times, so everybody knows. So, Bhumi, if we know it's earth, Apa, water, Anal is fire, Vayu, air, and Kham is space. So these are Sanskrit words, but we know those 5 elements very well now. And then, so the Bhinna word, so basically Bhinna also means that it's divided into these 8 things, but they are here when they talk about these 5 elements, they are in the Tan Matra state, okay? Means subtle state and Sukshma Avastha. So, it's not a grossified 5 elements that we experience. That's not what they're talking about at this stage. But we also should understand that this is first it comes in the subtle form, and then and this subtle form becomes the cause for the whole world. So Bhagwan will mention further that para and apara prakriti, they come together to cause this whole universe to emerge. So that's the main thing, that by itself this 8 prakriti cannot do anything. By itself consciousness doesn't do anything, because it is just a witness, but together this whole universe is created. So those are the things they do. So these 5 elements are when they come into further grossification or manifestation, I should say, then they become our sense organs. So our sense organs are directly related to these elements, or we can say that the sense organs come from this 5 elements. And what is the connection? That the sound, what are these 5 things? Firstly, we already know, we have talked many times, sound, touch, form means to see, a sight, taste and smell. So these are our 5 indriyas. So how is this connected with these 5 elements? The space is connected with sound. So the essence of space is sound. That's how they describe it. And the essence of air is touch. The essence of fire is sight. And the essence of water is taste. And the essence of earth is smell. So how do we talk in the modern language? What does it mean in the modern language? So Nikhilanandji came up with a very nice example. He's saying that the subtle form is something like what we have a blueprint of a state. Suppose if you want to build something, the first you have a blueprint and then you go accordingly, right? Further gets into the more grossified form, solid form. So what they're talking about, these 5 elements at this blueprint stage. And so this blueprint, they're talking about the entire cosmos, not just the earth or anything, but the entire cosmos. And what is another meaning of this Sukshma Avastha or subtle form that they are right now in, or not the way he's talking about, right now meaning what Krishna Bhagavan is mentioning, that at that stage it is beyond our comprehension because it is in the Sukshma form. It's like when you see a blueprint, it's just a print. You don't see actually the building yet, but it is going to come because of that. That's how we have to see. So, and then the other 3 things are Mana, Buddhi and Ahankar. So, this is a little bit maybe confusing, but in Vedanta, they put this Mana, Buddhi, Ahankar, all 3 in the matter category only. So, because sometimes people get confused that because you go, mind and intellect, they're antakaran and we don't see them like that. We just know it is there. Some people put it in the consciousness category. No. Actually, look at it the other way. Anything other than consciousness is all these things. So these things are also other than consciousness, the Mana, Buddhi and Ahankar. So what does it mean that, and because we have done Kathopanishad, we will understand this a little better now, that at cosmic level, remember we talked about the total intelligence? So where he's talking about, Mana, Buddhi, Ahankar. So now think of that total intelligence. That's what he's referring to at the, macrocosmic level. And then microcosm, of course, it is our own intelligence that comes from there. So, and then the buddhi and ahankar, all that put together kind of in the seed form is called that avyakta. Do you remember the word avyakta from and it's called Prakriti also bola gaya usko. So it's one of the natures of God, unmanifest form. And so from that perspective, now think about it. The subtle 5 elements together with intelligence and mana, buddhi, ahankar, this constitute the Ashtada Prakriti, because there are 8 in numbers, these different things. And just like I said, that this Ashtada Prakriti is the one which is the object. It is experienced different than I. Because somebody say, hey, my mind is it different? Yes, it is different, because that's why we know, hey, I'm sad or I am happy. We are watching our mind, so to speak. Or I got this idea, or I'm watching my intellect. See that I'm saying? I also become the witness of my own intellect. So that's why it's other than I. It's a little complicated, but I'm trying my best to explain it. So now think about macrocosm and microcosm. So the same kind of process which happens at a cosmic level also happens at an individual level. How does it happen? See, when we go to deep sleep, then it becomes avyakt, unmanifest in the seed form. And when we wake up, as though our intelligence wakes up. Like compare it to the total intelligence, the individual intelligence. Because, okay, now I can comprehend everything, And then we know that at the cosmic level it's called the Hiranyagarbha also, right? That total intelligence. So all that is connected with the individual level also. If you compare it, you will see the same process is happening here also. Because I become conscious of everything, aware of everything, and then I do my daily activities. So now, just one more angle over here. That at a cosmic level, the unmanifest nature of God is there. And the first manifestation that happens is that total mind. I'm just repeating certain things and seeing how whole thing sequence comes along. And then at that level, I know that sometimes when we use the word ahankar, we always think of it as something negative, right? The person is very egotistic or ahankar. But यहाँ पर वो ahankar का meaning थोड़ा different है. Okay? And let's see, I'll try to explain. So when you say that mind of God, the total mind of God, that is the sense of I, ahankar at that level. And the God says as though, okay, this is just like a dramatization of this whole thing. As though God says, I am and I want to become many. Okay, because it's one, right? And it's like, there is a joke about it. The God was getting bored and he said, I got to experience many, but I want to play some game. That's why he created. I don't know. Just something that sometimes, hey, why this world came along? Some people give that kind of answer. So then, as though Bhagwan gets divided himself into many, and these 5 elements come about. But in Vedanta, there is a very specific thing that the space comes first. There is a whole sequence. And after space, the air comes. After air, fire. After water, earth. After fire, water. And after water, earth. That is the sequence. And it's called Panchikaran. Someday when we do some other Upanishad, they will tell you exactly. Because in the earth, the other 4 elements are there also. And in water, other 3 are there. Like that it is there. Okay? And somebody says, hey, how can there be fire in the water? H2O, oxygen is there. So science proves it, that is there, the fire is there, see? It goes absolutely together with the science. So now, Nikhilanandji came up with a very amazing comparison about science and Vedanta, okay? So whoever is interested in all the scientific thing, it's a simple thing. Even if you have not heard, you will relate to it. So he was just saying, okay, let's look at it from the science perspective. That, hey, we live on this earth. And now we know that earth is part of a solar system, right? There are, 9 planets or some. Now they think that Pluto is not a planet, 8 planets, whatever way you look at it. That's a solar system of one sun, which is like a star only, right? And then in our galaxy, there are 100 billion stars. We are part of this galaxy, right? And then some of the stars are much, much bigger than our own star. We all know about these things. And then it seems that they are finding out that now there are clusters of galaxy. They hang out together. like a family of galaxy, and they interact with each other, these galaxies, which we have pata nahi, we can't comprehend, but this all these space scientists, they come up with all these things, okay, with their own research and all that. So he's saying that just think about it, that this universe, and then we know that such clusters of galaxies are in billions. So your mind only goes crazy when you start thinking about it. In short, the universe that we are sitting in is very vast. That's what the basic idea is. But he said that what they have come up with some numbers now, that the matter that we are experiencing of this entire thing, matter means something that we can comprehend, we can kind of grasp with our five senses, okay? We can perceive. It's only 4.4% of the universe. That's what the scientists are saying. So, and what is the other thing? So 25.6% is dark matter. You must have heard this term, dark matter, which is unknown, but is there. They have proven its existence, but you can't see it. So the unmanifest ho gaya ki nahi? And then what is the other 70%? Because if you add this 25.6 and 4.4, that's 30%. What is the other 70%? Dark energy. They call it dark energy. So it's unmanifest form, all these things. So together, this whole thing is a universe. And then they are also saying that these currently they say that the universe is expanding. But it's a very strange phenomenon. On one hand, it's expanding. On the other hand, they say the Andromeda and our Milky Way is merging with each other. It'll take some billions of years. We don't need to worry about it. There's going to be no crash or anything. They said the stars are still going to be far apart. But all this phenomena is going on. All this action is going on at the cosmic level. But according to the scientists, at one time, all of this was together, right? They call it like, in that Big Bang theory, they call it the singularity. What was in the singularity? There was no matter, there was no time. And so what the Vedanta language they use, no space, no time, no causality. Do you remember that? That, time and space go together, and no causality means, no cause was there. And then from there, the Big Bang happened according to them. So they have their own theory, but it matches, right? That, hey, from that, the whole universe expanded. So we can look at it as the avyakt, what they call it. So it matches with the whole thing that at one time, time, space, causality is not there at that level. It is avyakt, and then it comes into manifestation. So when first it comes out, these manifestations, that's when the sense of I comes. And what in the Puranas, it is very nicely described, this whole process, that Bhagwan decided, okay, let me create this world now. Unki ichha hui, aise bolte hain, huh? Because they are trying to verbalize now this whole process in a story form, maybe, So this is where called the I consciousness or ahankar. So when I was saying the ahankar is not necessarily always a bad thing, because here they are talking about that I feeling that, hey, I want to create something. So the first manifestation that came out was space. Now remember, space is connected with sound. So that's why that word Om, that Om was as a beginning and the end, and because Om is the sound. And now even they feel like if you hear the deep space, it sounds like Om, they say, because that's the nature of sound. And in some of the scriptures, and I confirmed it, I went there and I looked at this, Christianity, what they say. They say that the word was with the God first, and then it manifested. That's how the Christians say it. Is exactly the same, because in our Sanatan Dharma, they said the sound is that came first. That's why Shravanam is also that important. So, and then the sequence started. What I told you, that sequence of, So this is how, in nutshell, this Ashtada Prakriti is. Lower Prakriti, it's called Apara Prakriti. All these are same. And then in the modern language, you call it matter. World of matter is Ashtada Prakriti. And then in the next one verse, he's going to talk about that there is a different, then this is going to be his Para Prakriti, which is like a witness. or seer. And this apara prakriti is also called jada or gross बोलते हैं ना जिसको इंग्लिश में जड़ा संस्कृत में वर्ड है ठोस. And then इसको दृश्य भी बोलते हैं, दृष्टा and दृश्य, that hey, something that can be seen. So these both prakriti belong to God only. So basically, if you see it the reverse way, a Brahma exists with these two prakritis, and they eventually manifest. So this is what in this verse is telling. I hope it's not very complicated. But any comment or question, or anybody wants to add anything?
I had read this right before class, this verse 4, and it really didn't make much sense to me. But after your explanation, I think I understand much more.
That's great. That's great.
But I understand. I think I have a
better idea.
That was it now.
Yeah. That's the whole idea about. So when you bring 2-3 different Swamis commentary, then they bring out different angles. I like the way Nikhilanandji compared it to the science. And then I know that you went to the Christian school, Miraji, so you might know. I had heard vaguely about that the word was with God and then it manifested. I said, the truth has to be same in all the religion, but how people interpret. But the interpretation was so different on the internet. It was more like, oh, the word means Jesus Christ. But here they're going at elemental level, a scientific level, and then it matches. So maybe when Jesus said that or whatever in there, that's what he meant, because it matches so beautifully. That's the first thing that manifested. So we can kind of compare different things and you come to the same conclusion. That was very interesting for me. Yeah. Okay, Meeraji, today would you like to read?
I could, yes. Earth, water, fire, air, space, intellect, egoism are my eightfold prakriti. In an attempt to explain the world outside as a marriage between matter and spirit, great thinkers of the Vedika period had exhausted their philosophical acumen and had given us the Sankhya philosophy. According to them, the spiritual factor presiding over a given matter envelopment dynamizes the inert matter and makes the insentient mixture of various elements of matter, mineral assembly, to act as though it is intelligent and vital. This idea becomes clear to us when we take an example from the modern world.
So here, when he was sorry, is it the यहाँ पर paragraph खत्म नहीं हुआ?
हाँ, खत्म हो गया. I'm sorry.
So I just wanted to say कि sometimes, the language they use, you may get a little confused that hey, marriage between matter and spirit. Because remember I said that consciousness by itself cannot manifest the world. So that the God as though got divided into two, spirit and matter, and the marriage between the two, they say. And that's why there is a Shiv and Shakti, they call it. You've heard of that. And then we celebrate Shivaratri, which is a marriage of Shiva and Parvati, but symbolically, it's a manifestation of the universe. Because you need both. Yeah, you need, it's something like this, that you have electrical equipment. Without electricity, it's absolutely useless. No matter how great my computer can function, if I don't have electricity flowing through it, it's not going to work. But electricity by itself cannot do anything either because there's no expression, right? So together, that a manifestation happen. Now I can do Zoom, I can talk to you, everything. You see that? So now compare that to consciousness and matter. The combination of the two creates this whole universe. That's what they mean by the marriage. That's one thing. And then the other thing is, spiritual factor Purusha. Remember the word Purusha came in this Kathopanishad. I was saying Purusha doesn't mean man over there. Purusha means that consciousness. So Purusha presiding over a given matter and love meant dynamizes the inert matter, because just like our body, what is death? That connection with the consciousness is broken. So the person is not alive anymore. All the equipments are still there. Sometime, some young person may die in an accident or something. It looks like, hey, everything is there. Why is this person not alive? Because the connection is broken. So that's how we have to look at it. And then in the next paragraph, he's going to give another worldly example that will understand this connection between consciousness and matter.
With steel and iron, the manufacturer completes a steam engine, and when the cold engine is harnessed to steam at high pressure, it does work. Steam by itself can never express its dynamic capacity and strength. On the other hand, when it is made to work through a given equipment, it is capable of adding movement and motion to the inert iron assemblage.
So then this is also a very good example, right? You have all this engine is there. Until you put steam in there, it's not going to move. So now that steam is compared to consciousness, and steam engine is the matter, the Ashtada Prakriti. So that's how it is. They are not perfect example, but pretty good one to make us understand, the connection between the two.
Similarly, one of the schools of philosophy in India tries to explain scientifically how the eternal and the perfect self comes to express itself as the world of plurality in the embrace of matter. This also explains the relationship between spirit and matter. The technical terms used in the philosophy for the two items are Prakriti for the matter envelopments and Purusha for the spirit factor.
So now is that same eternal factor, when it expresses through this matter, it becomes the world of plurality. It's the same thing like electricity is the same, but their bulbs or equipments 100,000 millions. And somebody was saying you can't say that Chinese electricity or Indian electricity or something. They are at the very core level. It's electricity is electricity, right? So same way, the consciousness is one, but the matter, the three gunas make millions of different combinations and all that we know in the world that happens. And then these two words, Purush and Prakriti, is used even in Bhagavad Gita and other Upanishads, and later on in the chapters also it's going to come. Here, chapter 8, Arjuna is going to ask this question, can you explain me further what is Purush and Prakriti? And then again, chapter 15. And so we have to get familiar with these words now, Purush and Prakriti. The same like Shiva and Shakti, yin and yang. You can look at it whichever you want, Krishna and Radha. That's why they say it's one, but then it gets divided into two, but the essence is one only, because one cannot be without the other. That's why. It's like, can you separate a dance from a dancer? So you cannot. So that's how it is. But sometimes it manifests, other time it merges back. That's all it is.
Krishna explains in this and the following stanza what all items together constitute the matter and those that constitute the spiritual entity within a living man. Once the individual comes to understand clearly the distinction between matter and spirit, he will indeed come to understand that the spirit identifying with matter is the cause for all its sufferings, and when it is detached from its identifications, it rediscovers for itself its own essential nature as perfection and bliss absolute. The spirit identifying with matter and sharing the destinies of the inert equipment is called the ego, jiva. It is the ego that comes to rediscover itself to be nothing other than the spirit that presides over matter.
So what Swamiji is trying to do over here is, he's trying to point out that we are also made up of both. Because, that's the main thing over here, that, hey, what is it? Whatever is at the macrocosm, it's at microcosm too. So we have the spirit and the matter both, but our problem is we get too stuck up on the matter. That's what he's reminding us. So by telling us what matter constitute, but there is something other than matter, that is consciousness, that is a higher nature of God, that's what you are, and you are, this is, and living in all that, this separation, we have to do it in our own mind. Physically we can't see that separation because we can't see the consciousness. It's a power behind it. So that's why he was saying, and then when you identify with the matter, then that's called the ego. So when they say, oh, you should get rid of your ego, as long as we are alive, we won't be able to get rid of it, but we can rise above it and know that it's a false thing. That's all. And that's why they say transcend the ego,
In order to make Arjun realize how exactly one is to understand the true nature of the self in all its divine might and glory, Lord Krishna tries to enumerate the matter aspect as distinct from the spiritual truth in each individual.
So it's just like telling you that the more we learn, it will be easier for us to separate it, basically. That's what it is. Like if you have to win over something, you have to understand it first, what it is. That's what it is.
The five great elements, mind, intellect, and ego, constitute, according to the Geeta, the eightfold Prakriti that has come to be superimposed upon the truth through ignorance.
Now, this one is a little difficult, but anyway, maybe read the whole paragraph. I'll try to explain. Yeah. Go ahead.
The five great cosmic elements are represented in the microcosm by the five sense organs, by which the individual comes to experience and live in the world of sense objects. Thus, the list making up Prakriti is nothing other than the subtle body and its vehicles of expression that are constituted of the sense organs. The sense organs are the channels through which the world of stimuli reaches within, and the inner point of focus of the five sense organs is called the mind. The impulses received by the mind are rationally classified and systematized into the knowledge of their perception by the intellect. At all these three levels of sense perception, mental reception, and intellectual assimilation, there is a continuous sense of I-ness, which is called the ego. These constitute the equipment through which, at the touch of life, man functions as the intelligent being that he is.
Swamiji explained it very, very nicely, right? So we already discussed that the five great elements and our sense organs are directly manifestation of those, and how this whole world comes about, that these sense objects we perceive. And then he said that what is this ego is nothing but that all three levels of sense perception. And he went through systematically that, hey, the sense organs receive the information, it gives it to the mind, data collection happens over there, and then the intellect makes the decision, right? That's how we function in the world every day. But there is a continuous sense of I-ness, because I am doing this, and that's what is called ego. So he's just telling you that, again, the macrocosm and microcosm, how the whole world has come about. So even if you don't understand everything, if you understood a little bit, that's good at this stage. But I was just saying the first part of it, the five great elements, mind, intellect, and ego, so this Ashtada Prakriti, constitute, according to the Gita, the eightfold Prakriti that has come to be superimposed on the truth. That's the part maybe a little confusing, because on one hand, they are calling it the marriage of two, consciousness and matter, but the reality is, it is actually just consciousness only. It just, because of Maya, it appears like that to us. It's an ignorance. And Advait Vedanta, it's the best example I can give is of the ocean. Are the waves different from the ocean? It's part of it. It's H2O only. It just looks to us. कोई बोलेगा ओ वे ओशन में तो बहुत हलचल हो रही है, किसी ने बोला कि वहाँ डीप जाके देखो, एकदम शांत मिलेगा, कुछ भी नहीं, हलचल नहीं है. At that level से कौन सी हलचल? Just little wind come and it's fluttering a little bit, and to us it looks like major waves and all that. Something like that over here, that we separate it in our mind, we do all that, and we call it marriage, ye wo. Actually, it is just one only. It is our ignorance. That's what I was pointing out. We have studied the Vedanta, so just trying to bring that point over here, what Swamiji meant. But they have to use that language and they have to separate it so that we can understand it, go back to that oneness. That's why they're doing it. Any question, comment? Or anybody wants to add anything to this Ashtada Prakriti? Everybody became very silent.
I think your dance and dancer example was very, very clear in understanding some part of this, because the dance cannot exist without the dancer.
Correct.
But a dancer is not a dancer unless there is some dance, unless she can dance or he can dance.
Got
I
it.
thought that was a very good explanation. Yeah.
See, other example they give, which I like very much, and I can share it with you. They said that it's something like fire. Okay, when we say fire has its unmanifested form also. Like wood mein jo hota na, fire is unmanifested, right? When dry wood is sitting there, but उसमें आग लगाएंगे तो manifest हो जाती है वो. And then what are the characteristic of the fire is heat and light. Fire means heat and light. So that is his expression. And you can say that is power of the fire, you can call it. So same way Brahman has its power, and the power is the one that manifests it. And then the other way of looking at it is जब Brahman होगा तो उसका power होगा ही होगा. अगर आग जलेगी तो heat और light आएगी ही आएगी, right? So then when the Brahman decides, hey, I want to use my power, तो वो Maya manifest होगी ही होगी. That's why the world come, because it's a nature of it. It's can't just sit quietly, but it goes up and down. Like you said, that it will manifest and then merge back again. Like the dancer will dance for a while, then he will sit quietly, as though the dance has merged with him, right? Where did the dance go? It is within him only. It can express any time. Yeah, so that was a good example. Any question or comment? Other besides? But after we discussed it and all that, now it is a little more clear, Meeraji. When you read it on your own, it was a little bit,
Yes, definitely.
Okay, good. So
you are explaining and reading it together, with the whole class. It makes a big difference.
So this is just the tip of the iceberg about Bhagwan's nature. So as we go deeper and deeper, he will tell you more and more and more, but it's all related to this only. This is the foundation. The two different things, Okay, so what I can do, I can close Bhagavad Gita here since there are no more questions, because it's better to go a little slow. I don't want to load up too much. We can churn upon this, and next week we will do what is the higher nature of God. Then together it will complete Parayana Para. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyah moksha ishyami ma shuchah. Hari Om.